Hello and welcome to Host Planet Bitesize, the podcast brought to you by Host Planet and Hostfully. My name's James Farley, the founder of Host Planet, and our goal is to share everything you need to know about buying and managing short-term rentals. Today's guest is Frank Bosi from Hostfully, and he's going to be talking about experiences and how you can secure a 5-star review every single time. Are you looking to streamline your operations and amaze your guests? Look no further than Hostfully. With their top-rated property management software, you can automate reservations, payments, and guest communication all in one place. Plus, their award-winning digital guidebooks provide personalised recommendations and essential information, ensuring your guests have an unforgettable stay while helping you achieve those all-important outstanding reviews. Join the thousands of satisfied property managers who trust Hostfully to grow their business. Visit hostfully.com to elevate your short-term rental game today. Frank, welcome back to Host Planet Bitesize. A pleasure to chat as always. Now, today we're going to talk about experiences, and you're going to share 5 cool ways that hosts can offer experiences and achieve outstanding results. So, take it away.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me, James. I always look forward to chatting with you about all things STR, but especially this topic on guest experiences, especially coming from a decade in the luxury hotel world. The Ritz-Carlton, the Edition, Marriott Luxury Collection. I worked at the Four Seasons prior to joining Hostfully. Guest experiences has always been top-notch, top priority. So I'm really excited to see how it has also become one of those things that gets talked about a lot in the short-term rental space, more so now than ever. And what we've seen is that the operators who are really thriving now in their day-to-day, and they're thriving in the industry, and the visibility that their brand and their properties are getting are the ones who go beyond the basics, and they're thinking about the guest experiences as part of their brand, not just hospitality and their day-to-day operations, but focused on the brand. So today I thought I'd walk through 5 key ways that hosts and property managers can really elevate the guest stay and the guest experience, regardless of whether you're managing 3 properties or 300 properties. So kind of just jumping right into it, because I know we only have 30 minutes and I tend to ramble. But I think the first one is personalization. So especially personalization, but at scale. So I know that personalization sounds like a buzzword. It's so powerful when done correctly. Even something as simple like referencing a guest's reason for travel, whether they're celebrating a birthday, a honeymoon, maybe it's their first trip with their child. Recognizing that can go a long way because it sets up how you're going to also personalize their stay with amenities. We actually just had our AI hackathon day where we heard from a property manager who used tools like Hostfully's AI inbox assistant. And by doing and taking advantage of that feature, they suggested smart pre-written responses based on the guests' questions, their booking info, even the tone that they're using. So this type of software really helps property managers respond faster, more quickly, but also still sounding personal. It's like having an on-point co-host working 24/7. We have some users kind of give you like hard examples. There's one that we have from Colorado, and they use pre-arrival forms that ask why specifically guests are traveling. So like I mentioned earlier, whether it's a celebration, a work trip, family vacations, that one question helps trigger different messaging sequences as well as amenity bundles. So we have homeowners who get a romantic playlist and a welcome bottle of wine as an option. If they're remote workers that travel constantly for business, They get a Wi-Fi upgrade tip, but they also have a map of local quiet workspaces and co-working opportunities. Also, we have one where they focus on new parents. So they get baby gear recommendations, but they also provide a sound machine upon request. So those are just kind of focusing like, hey, you're here for this reason. We're going to recognize it and we're going to enhance your stay because of that. So that's one, is personalization. But then what you can also do is really personalize the guest stay is with our digital guidebooks, and the guidebooks that actually get used. A lot of people, all their time, they're like, oh yeah, we use the guidebooks. No one signs in, no one uses them. It's probably because they're not doing it correctly. So a nice little tip I learned along the way is upgrading your welcome manual. We've seen like those binders with the business cards, the PDF attachments that never get opened. But when you switch to something like Hostfully's digital guidebooks, it really is sincerely a game changer. Now the guests aren't just looking at these digital versions of your house rules. They're interactive. They're branded with your logo, your colors. It's mobile friendly, so you don't have to be at a desktop. You can be on, an iPad, an iPhone. And really, the cool thing is with your guidebooks is that you can embed videos, maps, restaurant recommendations. You have a great opportunity to upsell additional items for more or increased revenue generation. And really, there's so many more features that enhance the guest stay experience. So your guests can access it on their phone, as I mentioned, before they arrive, or they'll often use it multiple times during their stay as a reference for rules, attractions, or even recommendations. For example, we have a host in Austin that I just saw at VR Nation. They replaced their entire PDF welcome email with a branded app-like guidebook from Hostfully. Since then, they've embedded personal videos with introductions for each restaurant suggestions, how to use the fireplace, how to use their jacuzzi. And it's not just an how-to video, it's actually them recording themselves using that device, uploading it into the guidebook, which again, they shot on their phone. And when you shoot it on your phone, or even you could actually get it professionally recorded, it just sets this level of personalization and getting to know the host. Somebody you've been talking to for 6 months about your vacation, they're the ones telling you how to use certain items within the home. So that's a huge benefit. They've also added clickable maps. So they had dog-friendly parks, running and hiking trails with recommended pit stops. And in those pit stops, they have a quick blurb as what you can see on that stop or why that stop is important to Austin. So really cool, focused on the local experience. They also linked Viator, which I'll get to in a moment. They linked Viator experiences like bat watching boat cruises, which was on my list to do when I was in Austin, but I never got around to it. Or even he had a cool, what was it? Barbecue food tours. And the property manager, earned commissions off of all of this, which is one of my favorite things about our guidebook. So our partnership and integration with Viator, it's where hosts can actually showcase local tours and experiences. So the guests can book things like wine tasting or a hot air balloon ride directly from the guidebook. And you, the property manager, will get a commission on those bookings when they come from Viator via the guidebook, if that makes sense. But ultimately, it's just an added convenience for the guest and really passive income for the hosts, which brings me to part 3. The third is offering a memorable local experience. This is a huge opportunity area that a lot of people don't take advantage of. Travelers nowadays don't just want a place to stay. Some do. Some just want a pillow, a bed, and then leave the next day. But majority of travelers now really want the experience. They want to tell a story. They want to feel as though they are a resident of that specific city. So one of my favorite ways is seeing some pretty creative hosts partner with local vendors and offering chef nights, welcome experiences, even neighborhood food tours. And simply by connecting that to their guidebook or their property management system makes it really easy to offer and also to easily track who's opened it and has moved forward with that recommendation or that suggestion. Some of my favorite examples, as I mentioned earlier during our chat, James, we have a host in Oregon who offers mushroom foraging trips, which I think is pretty nifty. And it's regular mushrooms, where you can't do the other stuff. Another one is in NOLA. They book historic and ghost tours, which is pretty nifty because there's so many, especially in a city like New Orleans. Having the one that the property manager recommends just makes it easier for the guest to make that decision instead of wasting 2 hours on Google trying to find one. We have a client in Napa who created a wine and cheese pairing with local cheese mongers. I can never say that with a straight face, cheesemongers, straight from the guest's Airbnb. And what's important to take from all of this is that with the right technology, these experiences don't require tons of back and forth. And they also lead to 5-star reviews. And I get it. Hosts enjoy the back and forth to an extent. A lot of people are like, I don't know if I want to do AI. It takes the personalization away because it gives off that human touch experience, which I'm all about. You can ask my colleagues, you can ask my friends. They think it's hilarious that I work for SaaS and I work for software and I'm doing a hackathon in AI because I'm more of the back and forth human touch experience. But with the right software like Hostfully, you can do just that, even with the automation. Which brings me to the automation without losing that human touch. Now, this one's, in my opinion, is obviously a bit more behind the scenes, but it's just as important. So if you do it correctly, as I mentioned, the keyword is correctly, automation actually improves the guest experiences. You can have automated check-in instructions based on specific time zones, smart triggers that send upsell offers right before arrival and during the booking flow, or even auto reminders for late checkout. Hostfully's property management software really makes this workflow super intuitive. You set it up once and it runs in the background. So even if a guest messages you at like 2 a.m., they still get the info they need without the delay. And it still feels personal. Even with some of our AI integrations that take it to the next level, your team isn't overwhelmed with manual tasks, so they can actually focus on elevating the guest experience. One of my favorite is, and I think a lot of listeners will really appreciate this, Airbnb not so much, but is the focus on driving more direct booking. So once a guest stays with you, you befriend them, you get to know who they are, and then you get their email address. What's really cool is, my favorite is, we have something called complex conditions, where you can create a message to get sent out days or hours before the stay starts, before the stay ends, after the stay starts, and after the stay ends. So one of my favorite is creating a template saying, hey, we miss you. We'd love to welcome you back. Here's my direct booking website. Here's a discount code to save 10, 15, 20% on your next stay. That gives them the incentive to book again. And with our triggers, which are our automations, is you can create it 90 days after checkout, 95 days, 130 days, whatever you feel works for your market and your brand. You can set it to send out to every single guest X amount of days after they depart to book with you directly, telling them how much you miss them and how much you would love to welcome them back. So there's a lot of opportunity with our automations. And the last thing I want to touch on is really just delighting your guest with these small, thoughtful extras. It's really those little surprises that guests remember. And because going back to my experiences in the luxury hotel industry, I'm a huge believer that guest experiences live in those minute, tiny details. Whether that's like a handwritten note, a local snack, a local coffee, or even like a curated guide to like hidden gems in the area, these small touches create this emotional connection and resonance with that property manager and that host moving forward. We have a host in Nashville, for example, who created this guest bar in the kitchen with a handwritten note. They also have like a small rotating local treat. So whatever's available to them, whatever they approach the vendor and they're like, hey, we have guests, we have a short-term rental in the industry, we want to promote your brand. So whatever vendors give them. So this one in particular had hot sauce, candy, coffee. They had a candle at one point. So having those just in stock, build a relationship with the vendor, but then also give these thoughtful little extras in their guest bar. Some seasonal add-ons as well. They have hot cocoa packs in the winter, but then in the summer they focus on bug spray and sunscreen. So again, just those small little things. And another hot tip that I have found to be successful is sending a follow-up message a few hours after check-in. So going back to what I said earlier with our automations, you can create a template and then send it to the guest 2-3 hours after the guest checks in. So in this case, what this client from Nashville did, he did exactly that after check-in, but with a locals only guide. And it offers to be of assistance should they need anything throughout their stay. And again, just offering that check-in and then that offer to like, hey, I'm here if you need anything is all automated, but it doesn't feel automated because it's actually a person sincerely asking and suggesting that if you need help, that they're here. The thing also is revenue. It doesn't cost much to get this all set up, but they make people feel seen, and then it also generates revenue. And that's what it all comes down to, not generating revenue, but making the people feel seen, because it ultimately leads to loyalty, to your referrals, to repeat guests. And with repeat guests come easier stays. Who's staying in your unit, less chance of, issues and with guest screening and all that, but also it's going to get you 5-star reviews. And we know that 5-star reviews, you get more visibility, get you more guests, you get more money. And with that money, you can start scaling or improving your day-to-day. So it is this nice little domino effect that this small little change to your approach can really make a significant impact for your business, but also for all of your guests. And that's my 5.
Frank, so many really wonderful tips there. Absolutely just packed with essential knowledge that I'm sure hosts and property managers around the world will get a lot of value from. One thing that stood out for me was the host that you were talking about who were creating the personal videos in their digital guidebook. And we've spoken a few times on our podcast series about personalisation, and you as a host and a property manager showing your face to your guests, whether it's a photo of you on your website or videos in your digital guidebook. How important do you think it is to have that level of personalisation, but also like showcasing who you are and showing the human touch, I think?
Well, yeah, because your personality is going to shine. And also what I would suggest is some hosts don't have the bubbly personality that may match their brand. It doesn't have to be the host. Ideally, it would be, but it could be someone else on your team that has maybe a warmth approach or something. So as long as you get like a face to the brand, that could work as well. But it is super impactful because there's times where I'm talking, like, for example, we stay in Oak Island. It's like 3 hours from Charlotte. We stay there every summer. We have yet to find a place that we enjoy going to year after year until last year. And what happened was last year, the property manager, the host, made themselves known with personalization, We knew what they looked like. We knew that, their backstory, because they said, our family lives on Oak Island. I was born and raised on Oak Island. And then they gave again, a personalization, a personal story on why they're short-term rental hosts on this specific island. You have the rest of the US, you have the rest of the world where you could benefit from short-term rentals, but why they chose this small, unique little island on the coast of North Carolina just made us feel like, okay, we know who this person is, we know their story. During our stay last year, we booked our stay for this upcoming summer. So again, just getting that connection with your host and somebody that you've been speaking with for months, it just makes the stay feel a little bit more like home. Like you kind of feel comfortable knowing who your host is instead of just like checking in, not knowing who the person is, and then checking out, never interacting with them again.
And going the extra mile and making the guest feel seen, this is a little bit out of the ordinary. I mean, in my experience, I spent a few months out in the Far East earlier this year, and the vast majority of hosts and property managers of places that we were staying, they didn't really contact us. They didn't, tell us about local experiences or anything like that. So if you do go the extra mile, you are going to be a little bit out of the ordinary and put yourself at the top of this hosting game.
I should have touched on it earlier, but yeah, that's actually one of the most important parts is you're standing out amongst your competition, especially in areas like New Orleans, Nashville. Oak Island has a ton. I think, it's a very family oriented island where there's a lot of residents. But now, because North Carolina and especially Oak Island and the coast have become such a boom, there's so many rentals there. So just having that personalization and that level to really, or that just that want to elevate the guest stay, simply if it's 1, 2, 3 tasks or changes that you make, that's awesome because that's 3 things that your competition isn't doing. So yeah, it definitely helps you stand out amongst your competition in the area. And stuff like digital guidebooks with Hostfully is a game changer because there's so many features and capabilities that the guest book itself offers, that you don't really have to do much. You kind of just have to do it once and then it's done. And then you can automate and all that stuff afterwards. So it's a pretty sweet setup once you get it. And like I said, the main thing is guest experience is important, yes, but you need to make sure that you do it correctly. Because there's a lot of automations that you can do. Like there was one guest, and I forget, I don't remember the software that they used. I forget what it was, but I remember the story, and it was the guest the guest mentioned that the Wi-Fi went out. Their automated message recognized the word Wi-Fi and sent them a response saying, "This is the Wi-Fi code." And it's like, like how and like the instructions on how to log in. And the person got infuriated because they're here without Wi-Fi, and you're telling me what the Wi-Fi code is. So like automations, you kind of, we're still at the tip of the iceberg with that stuff. So it's making sure it works, but then also that that you're doing it correctly and that you're using the right software and the right tech in order to elevate the guest experience.
Another thing that you've mentioned a few times is partnering with local vendors. And by recommending local companies, local restaurants or experiences or whatever it might be, you're being a really great advocate for your local community and being a net positive for your neighbors and other businesses that are nearby. How important is it to be a really good advocate for what's going on nearby in your local area?
Yeah, and I mean you want those vendors on your side. So if you can say, "Hey, I have 5 listings in this particular market. I would love to showcase your business as a small business focus instead of having them, go to Target and buy something. They can go on Main Street and visit all of these different vendors based on my recommendations." That vendor is going to appreciate you. They're going to know that you're not just in the neighborhood and in the market to just make money, that you're really being inclusive of everyone in that market and in that neighborhood. And it just sets up this holistic approach to benefit the city. And with that being said, when that time comes, with all the regulations and the restrictions that property managers are encountering lately, having those vendors, those restaurants, those small businesses, those mom and pop shops on your side when that conversation approaches, whether they're going to restrict your short-term rental, if you get those guys on your side, it's going to show how much short-term rentals in that particular city are benefiting not only the city financially, but also all of the other patrons and all of the other vendors. So yes, you want to have this genuine approach to selling and to suggesting your vendors, but at the same time, thinking ahead, it's actually going to help you significantly when that time comes.
Frank, really great points there about being a local advocate and getting all those businesses on side, especially with regulation. That's just a brilliant point there about everybody uniting really in the face of whatever regulation you might be facing. So some brilliant points there. So many great tips. I'm sure there's many things people can take on board. Just before you go, tell us all about Hostfully. Tell us about the digital guidebooks and the PMS that you have.
Yeah, so Hostfully has digital guidebooks, and we also have property management software system. Both of them are two separate entities. You could, of course, use them both together. But let's say, you're loyal to your current property management software. That's fine. You can still use our guidebooks. It's a simple URL link. But the really good thing is when the guidebook and the property management software are purchased and used together, you can sync a bunch of information. We also now have Hostfully devices, which we're really excited about. But essentially, if you're looking for ways to streamline your operations, offer a better guest experience, but also still grow and scale your business, definitely consider looking more into hostfully.com. You'll find information on our property management software, digital guidebooks, Hostfully devices, all the integrations that can help you take things to the next level, whether that's Viator, dynamic pricing tools, AI integrations. Hostfully.com is going to be the place where you find that. And then, of course, if you're not sure where to start, I'm here for you. Feel free to email me directly. I'm happy to join. I'm happy to host a one-on-one demo personalized for you and your setup. It's frank@hostfully.com. Super simple. Feel free. Do not hesitate to email me. I'm always happy to connect with industry folk, but I'm also always happy to showcase Hostfully's features and capabilities in further detail. So again, frank@hostfully.com. Do not hesitate to email me.
Superb. We will put the links to the website and your email address in the show notes as well, Frank. It's been a real pleasure as ever. Thanks for sharing your experiences, tips, and for joining us on Host Planet Bitesize.
Again, thank you always for having me, having my colleagues, having Hostfully.
Great to chat to Frank Bosi there from Hostfully. So many amazing tips in order to provide the very best guest experience and secure those all-important 5-star reviews. All right, that's it for today's episode. Remember, this series is sponsored by Hostfully, and if you'd like to try their PMS or digital guidebook, head to hostfully.com. For more free education, tips, and trends from the STR industry, visit hostplanet.club, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen to our podcasts, and download a suite of ebooks for hosts and property managers. That's it for today's episode of Host Planet Bitesize. Until next time, happy hosting.